let's continue to learn modern JavaScript. This session is about objects. So let's take a look how to create an object. So we can use the new keyword. We also can use curly brace like this. And then we can put properties inside of the object. Then this is the property name, this is the values. This is the property name values. So we can access the property like this. You also can add a property like this. You can remove the property, use delete keyword. We also can use something like this, multiple word for the property name, but you must use double quotation. And for the last property, we can leave a comma behind. So this is very convenient for you to add more properties later on. So square brackets, one usage. So for multiple keyword properties, you must use square bracket to access like this. And it also can be used to represent a property with a variable. For example, here you set your property name into this variable. You can use the square bracket to access your property through this variable. So this one is a variable. This variable is able to be changed. Then you put this variable inside of the square bracket. This is the power of the square bracket. You also can change the property name while you define the object like this. So for this case, you get an apple. Then you also can put an orange into this fruit. Then you get an orange property for this bag. And this one works the same. For a little bit of complex expression, it also works. And for reserved word in JavaScript, like for the loop, let, when you define a variable, return, you return the values. It also works for the property names. This is the special case. This one, proto, this one cannot be used as a property name. So we can use a function like this to return an object. So for this function, we have parameter names. Then we also have property names for this object. If they are same, then you don't have to put the property names behind. You can just use this form. You also can either use this form, or you want to change the value, you can do this. To check whether a property exists or not, we can use triple equal undefined. We also can use in to check whether this property exists in this object or not. But there's a special case for this one. This case, this object has a test property, but the value is undefined. If we use this form and triple equal thing, so this one will return true, which means this object doesn't have test property, but in fact it has. But if we use in, it works. No matter the value of the property is undefined or not, for in keyword, it always returns true as long as this object has this property. For in loop. So we use for in to go through the properties of this object. So this one we will output the name of the property. This one will output the value of the property. So orders. If the property is integers like this, then we go through the orders will be like this. It's from the ascending order of the integers like this. But if the properties are not integers, so it will go by the creation order. So this one, for example, how to determine this one is an integer or not? Yes, this one is an integer property. We can convert this value to a integer. We also can convert it back. But this one, at the string, we cannot convert this. Like we get a string like this, but it's different from the original. So this one is not an integer property. Same as this one. So after we do this, convert to the integer, we get a 1, not the 1.1, 1.2. 1.2 is a decimal point number. So it's not the same. So this one is not an integer property. So for keys are non-integer, they go by the creation order. So this we have name, surname, and age. So we will get name, surname, and age. Okay, let's take a look at the object reference. When we create an object like this one we called the reference. So we have the reference to this hello, and we have the reference to this message. They are pointing the same thing. And this one, we have a user, we have the admin, it's a reference to the user. We have the name. If we change the admin's name, the user's name also changed. So this one, because the admin is the reference of the user. So comparison of the reference. So for this one, we have a object A. We have a reference B to A. Then we check. This one, of course, is true, and double equal is true, or triple equal also true. For this one, A and B. So A is an object, and B is another object. They are not the same. So even you use double equal, they are not the same. So it will return false. So for const object, let's see, we have this const object with one name property. You can add on new properties, no problem. But you cannot do something like this. You cannot replace the whole user object with a new object like this. So for this one, how to cloning an object, we use object assign, or we can reset the properties one by one. So for this case, we clone object. This one we reset the property one by one, use the for in. Then when we change the clone's name, the user's name won't change because they are different object. So we also can use object.assign. So let's say we have this object, we have this object, we have the user object. We want add on this object's property to user's this user object. Then we can do something like this. Then for the user, we get a name, and a can view and can edit. So let's take a look at this sample. We have this user, and we want override the name. We can do something like this. We also want to add a new property. Then we can just use this line. So now you get a new name and a new property. So for object assign, you don't have to use the loop for in. You just use the one line to finish the clone. It's much simpler. So for this object, the property of the size is another object. For this case, we have to pay attention. When we do something like this, assign this user to a curly brace and get a clone object, and when we check the size property of the user and the size property of the clone, they are the same object because the column size is a reference to the user's size. So when we change the size, the width property for the user, then the column's size width will also be changed. So to fix that, we have to do another line to separately assign the user's sizes to columns sizes. This one is called deep cloning. Yeah, that's all for this overview session of object in modern JavaScript. Thanks for watching. See you next session.